This week we're going to focus on responding, the responding bid to one no trump. Okay? But before we get to that, I want to just touch back with some of the things we went over last week to make sure that they're very clear in your mind. What I think is very important here is to move up step by step so you build on what you've learned and continue to build. And just like I mentioned last week, you have to learn arithmetic before you learn algebra, and algebra before you learn calculus if you're going to bother with any of that stuff. The bridge is like that too. You've got to get the fundamental stuff, and you can put some stuff on top of that, and stuff on top of that. But you don't jump up here to the third or fourth level if you don't have a full and comprehensive grasp of what's at the foundation. Okay? Some of the things we're going to be discussing you probably are already familiar with. The farther we get into the lessons, the more advanced stuff we'll be talking about. Just a little bit ahead, next week we're going to be talking about responding to opening bids of a suit. Beyond that, we're going to be talking about openers, rebids after the response. Then we'll get into statement and Jacoby. The last 2 weeks will be on statement and Jacoby. Some of you I know are already using it or are some familiarity with it. But we're going to go into quite a bit of depth in those two things, and they're very important. They're also important when you're responding to one no trump. And when we get into this, I'll explain how we're going to go into that. All right, let's just jump back. What is the object of bridge? Somebody just, here you go, have fun is the correct answer. Absolutely right. So just to put it in the most simple way, you try to come up with, through an auction, a reasonable contract, a certain number of tricks you can make, and then make them. Okay? If you do that, you score. And if you make a game, you get bonus points. How many points do you have to have, without hand evaluation points, do you have to have between you and your partner to be in game? 25. Okay, what if you're bidding diamonds or clubs? How many points? 29. Okay, so if you know through your bidding, between you and your partner, that you have 25 points, you should be in game. Okay? A game. You have to determine through your bidding what the proper game is. Now, how many points are there totally, high card points in the deck? 14. How many points do you need to open? 13 points. But that includes both high card points and what? All right, just real briefly, an ace is 4, a king is 3, a queen is 2, a jack is 1. How do you add on your distribution points? Anybody know here? Each point, exactly. So your 5th card is worth 1 point, 6th card, an additional point, 7th card, an additional point. So you've got your high card points and your distribution points, and if it comes up to 13, you should open something. Okay? Now, to open one no trump, how many points do you have to have? 15 to 17. What else do you have to have? Okay, and somebody define for me a balanced hand. No more than what? That's correct. Balanced hand is a hand with not more than one double. There are only 3 possibilities. 4, 4, 4, 3, 3, 3. That's balanced, right? That's balanced, right? 4, 4, 3, 2. 5, 3, 3, 2. That's it. Okay. Every other hand is unbalanced. Okay. So your hand must be 4, 3, 3, 3, 4, 4, 3, 2, or 5, 3, 3, 2. To open one over. Okay. If you don't have a balanced hand and precisely 15 to 17 points, as I said last week, not 14 to 18, but 15 to 17, you don't open one no trump.
That's high card points, right?
High card points only no trump. Okay? Now, let's say you don't have a balanced hand. What are you going to open? A suit, right? Okay, so you're going to open a suit. How many points, what's the upper limit? You have to have at least 13. How many, what's the highest number?
21.
21. So you can open one of a suit with anywhere from 13 to 21 points. So if I open one spade and you're my partner, you know what? I have
13
13
points.
5 spades is exactly correct. We'll get to that in a second. As far as points, I have between 13 and 21. So you don't know quite right now, based upon what you have in your hand, where we should be. And so you need to get further information from me. All right? Now, if you are going to open one of a suit, what's the first thing? You're not opening no trap. You're going to open one of a suit. What do you look for first? 13 cards. 5-card major. If you have a 5-card major, you open that. What if you have 2 5-card majors? You open the higher one first. You can show the second one later if you have the opportunity. Okay, what if you don't have a 4-card major? What do you open? A minor. Which minor?
The one with the most cards.
The one with the most cards. The minor with the most cards. So if you've got a 5-card minor and no 5-card major, and that's the longest minor, you would open that. What if you have 2 4-card minors and that's your longest suit? Diamonds. Now it's possible you could have no 5-card majors and 2 3-card minor suits. Which one have you opened that instance? Clubs. And there's one hand possibility where you could have 2 diamonds and 3 diamonds and 2 clubs. What would you open then? No 5-card major, 3 diamonds and 2 clubs.
3 diamonds.
You'd open 1 diamond. That's the only time that you would ever open 1 diamond with only 3. Okay? You've got 4 spades, 4 hearts, 3 diamonds, and 2 clubs. Okay, you can't open a major because you don't have 5. Your longest minor is what? 1 diamond is your bid with that hand. Okay? All right. So is everybody clear on all of this? All right. It's very foundational. All right. Okay. So let's go from there. Let me get some of this out of the way here. Oh, one more thing before we move away from there. To bid game, say you decided you should be in game in spades. How many spades do you have to get? 4 spades is game. 4. Okay, so 4 spades is game. And if you make it, how many trick points do you get? 10. Well, how much is a trick worth in spades?
30
points. So you made 4, so it's 4 times 30. 120. Okay, and then on top of that, you get a game bonus. If you're not wrong, it would be 300, so you get 400. All right. If you're at hearts, you need 4 hearts for game as well, right? Same thing. Same thing. Okay. How many tricks do you need in clubs and diamonds to make it? 5. That's why you need more points, because you've got to take an extra trick. Okay, 5 diamonds and 5 clubs, and each one of their tricks is worth how much?
20.
Okay, so 5 is 100. In no trump, how many tricks do you need?
3.
You need how many?
3.
3. Okay, 3 no trump. And in no trump, the first trick is worth 40, and all subsequent tricks are 30. So this is 40 plus 30 plus 30 or 100. So these are the game contracts. Right? But 3 of these game contracts are preferable to two of the others. What are the 3 best game contracts? They're called the golden games in your book here. Spades, hearts, and no trumps. That's correct. So you want to try, if you're in game, to end up in spades, hearts, or no trump. Okay? The main reason is obvious. You have to win more tricks in diamonds. It takes more points to do it, and you don't get a high score as the spades. All right. Now, let's say you find, okay, before I go there, how many cards do you need between you and your partner in your hand for it to be the trump suit? 8. And that's because it's more than half by 2 cards. If you have 8 between you and your partner, your opponents have 5. So that's a good trump suit size. Anything higher than that is obviously even better. You will have control of the trumps. Right? So if you find an 8-card fit in spades or hearts, you should drive the contract to 4 spades or 4 hearts. Okay? If you don't find an 8-card fit in spades or hearts, but you find one in diamonds or clubs, what should you do? Try to do? Try to end up into 3 no trump. That's correct. The only times you generally will end up in clubs or diamonds is one of you has a really long suit and you have no stopper that you're really aware of in some suit. So anytime you've got a lot of diamonds and clubs or an 8-card fit between the two of you, try to steer the contract to 3 no trump. That's where it should belong. All right. So now your partner has opened 1 no trump. You know he has one of these shaped hands, right? All right. As responder, the first thing you do when you pick up your cards is total the points you have in your hand. We're in no trump, so we're only talking about high card points. You can forget about distribution here. Your hand's going to fall in one of 3 categories. Okay? 0 to 7, which is the lowest category, obviously. And what do you think you would normally do if you have 0 to 7 points in your hand and your partner is open 1 no trump? Pass, right? Because game is it's not going to happen. The most your partner can have is how many points?
17.
What's the most you have? 17 and 7 is 24. You're not there. So we'll stop at 1 no trump. If you have 8 or 9 points, what do you do? That's the second category. In 5. It is possible if your partner has 17 points or maybe even 16 that you can get to game. All right. If he has 15, can you get to game? No. All right. So you make an invitational bet. In most instances, in no trump, it's going to be 2 no trump. It's short of game. It's more than the pass. So you're saying, partner, I've got 8 or 9 points. It's exactly what you say. If you've got the high end, take us to game. If you've got the low end, pass. Now what happens if you have 16 right there in the middle? Yes? There you go. Well, in a way you do yes, but you make an educated guess. You look at your hand, do you have a 5-card suit, which may build up an extra trick? Do you have a lot of 10s and 9s and sort of medium points? And if your hand looks solid, then you might want to bid 3 no trump. If you've got ace, little, king, little, or whatever, it's probably not as good because you're not going to build up any extra trick. So 16, you have to make a subjective call. But this is where the responder determines where to put the hand. If you have 10 or more points, what do you do? Make sure you're in game. Okay, another thing that's very important to remember here is the 2 roles of the opener and the responder. The opener is called the describer. The describer is telling you about his or her hand. The responder then becomes the captain. Now, why is the responder the captain? The responder probably has less points than the opener.
They're the only one that knows what to do now.
Yeah, you know more about the hand, particularly at the beginning than the opener does. So particularly in no trump, you know the responder knows almost immediately where that should be. Should it be in no trump? Should it be in a suit? Should it be in a game? Should it maybe be in a game? Should we pass, not be in a game? After you pick up your cards, you know that. But then there's just other bids that you'll make to make sure you get in exactly the right spot. Okay? And that's what we're going to be learning some about today, and even more in the Stamen and the Jacoby lessons toward the end. All right.
I have one question.
Yes.
If you're the responder, you have 0 to 7.
If you have what?
0 to 7 points.
Yes.
Then if you have 5 of a suit of a major,
Yes.
you go ahead and bid.
Right, that's a transfer, and we're not going to talk about transfers today. There's an old style of bidding the suit in no trump that's just a direct bid to that suit. Okay, that's what's described in the book here at the beginning. We're not going to learn it that way. And the reason I don't want to learn it that way is because in lesson 6, you're just going to have to unlearn it and do transfers. So we're not even going to go there today. We're going to stick strictly to no hand, balanced hands. And then it'll become more clear toward the end when we talk about transfers and statements, how to get into the contracts in the suits. Okay? All right. So, before we jump here, I'm going to give you a bonus. It's a bonus. You ready for this? What happens if you have 20 or 21 points 20 to 21 points in a balanced hand is an open bid.
I didn't hear that, sir.
A balanced hand with 20 or 21 high card points is an open bid of 2 no trump.
Oh.
Okay? So 1 no trump is 15 to 17, 2 no trump is 20 to 20. Okay? All right, now we're gonna look at some hands here. What I want you to do, your partner in every instance has opened 1 no trump. Okay? So you're the responder. And with each of these hands, I want you to tell me is it in category 1, 2, or 3. The book has an interesting little method of showing this. The 0 to 7 is like a red light. Stop. Okay, and I don't know if y'all read this, but 0 to 7 is a red light. Stop. So you're going to bid in a manner that will make your partner stop. 8 to 9 is yellow, which is be cautious but keep going. All right. Did anybody ever see the movie Starman?
Oh, yeah.
Judge Grass here.
Yes.
In Starman, the guy's from outer space and he's with this young woman, and he's very smart. And they're going through traffic, and she zooms through a yellow light, and she says, "You know what the lights mean, don't you?" He says, "Yes. Red is stop, green is go, and yellow is go very fast." Anyway, I digress. Red, yellow, and what do you think this is? Green. We're going. And I want to re-emphasize this. If you're the responder and you have 10 or more points in your hand, it is your obligation, it is your duty to make sure you and your partner get the game. You cannot make a bid your partner can pass. If you do, then it's on you and your partner can yell at you. Make sure if you have 10 or more points, you make a bid that your partner cannot pass. Okay? Now, here it's going to be very direct, because most all of the bids here are either pass, an invitational bid, or directly to game. So let's look at these hands. All right, in this hand right here, first of all, is it balanced or unbalanced? Okay, so you're responding to your partner who has 15 to 17 points in a balanced hand. How many points do you have? 4, 5, 6. Right? Ace, jack, jack. 6 points. What is your bid? Pass. You're saying stop, we're done. Okay? How about this one right here? I'm sorry, it's jack, XX, queen, jack, and 4. It's a pass too. Does this look like your picture, right? That's what
Yeah, that just, yeah.
All right, let's jump over here. Let's jump over here. How many points is this one? 12. Okay, so which category are you in?
Green.
Okay, do you have a balanced hand?
Yes.
Okay.
But you're worried about the balance hand with the responder?
I just asked. If you
Oh. I thought you were saying we had to have a responder.
No, you don't have, the responder doesn't necessarily have to have a balance. All right, so this is your hand. Your partner's up with 1 no trump. How many points do you have?
12.
Where do you have to be?
Okay.
Okay, what do you think you did here? Yeah, you just jumped directly to that. You did 3 no trump. You do have a 5-card minor that you don't want to play in minors. Even if you have an 8-card fit, you still would prefer to play in 3 no trump. Okay? Let's look at this one. How many points in this one? 5, 4, 3, 4, 6, 8. Okay, so what category does that one fit in? Invitation. So what do you suppose you did here? 2 no trump. 2 no trump is an invitational bid. It does not force your partner to bid. Your partner can pass it. And in fact, your partner should pass it if she has how many points? 15. And what should she do if she has 17 points? Do 3 no trump. And if she has 16?
Think about it.
Think about it. Right. Yeah. Flip a coin. No, think about it and just use common sense with it. So this is an invitational hand. Right? You may end up in game or you may not. Okay? But if you get into the habit of doing the math this way and thinking of it this way, you'll understand how important it is to make sure you bid it in the way that your partner knows what you have and what they're obligated to do. All right, let's look at this one. How many points in this thing right here?
11.
There's 5, 5, 6, 5, 7, 9, 10.
It's hard to see. Yeah, there's layers.
9, 10, 11.
Okay, 11. What's your bid there? What about all these clubs? So even if you have all those clubs, you want to bid 3 note. Okay? Yeah. Just think about it. What if your partner has an ace, king, queen of clubs? Or even an ace, king? You'll probably end up with 5 or 6 club tricks. Okay? If you bid 1 note track, these points have to be somewhere. That's another thing to think about. Sometimes people, when they look at the responding hand, well, I don't have this, I don't have that. Granted, you don't, but your partner bid 1 note track. Those points are coming from somewhere, and they're not anything that you have. So your partner's 17 points are having to come from the cards that you don't.
I have a question.
Yes.
Back to this responder's handshake. Do we still say to no trump if we have a void? The responder.
The responder. For the purpose of this lesson, let's say yes. Okay. Now let me just point out we're avoiding on purpose hands where we may find an 8-card fit in the context. You're going to get a lot of hands, where you might have, say a distribution like this. Is that right? All right. So spades, hearts, diamonds, clubs, and you're the responder, and the partner bid 1 note trump. Okay, there is a bid reserved for this specific situation. A lot of you know what it is. What is it? Yeah, it's the Stamen Convention. Okay, and it's a 2-club bid. We're going to talk about this in depth in lesson number 5. So for tonight, let's don't worry about trying to find the 8-card fit in the majors. We'll do that later on. Okay, so just a couple more of these. I think they're pretty straightforward. Let's see. We can look at this one next. How many points in that have? 9. Okay. What's your bid? 2 note trump. Okay. All right. So it's really straightforward. Okay. If we just have balanced hands between the two hands, and you're the responder, with 0 to 7, you bid pass. Okay? So this is a pass. This is always what? 2 note trump. And this is always what?
Well, it's not always 3 note trump, it's just a portion of the game somewhere.
Yeah. It could be game in another suit if you have different card distributions. Okay? So we're just going to leave it at this. It's a very straightforward thing. Now I want to do one thing that might be a little interesting. It was an exercise that was in the book. Everybody get to a place where you have 4 at a table. And this doesn't have to be where you are later on. For right now, let's get 4 people at a table.